welcome to the very first episode of the Final Fantasy Show. I'm your host, Siryn. Wow, I've been waiting a long time to say that. Launching this show is truly a dream come true for me. I've loved JRPGs ever since I was a little girl. I've spent the past decade having the absolute honor of exploring and falling in love with the entire Final Fantasy series. It did not take me very long to recognize that Final Fantasy is truly something special, whether it's the life-changing experiences I've made in the MMO, Final Fantasy XIV, or the immersive single-player experiences whose stories and characters have evolved my entire worldview over what it even means to be human. I decided that there was no way that I could be the only one that felt this strongly about it. And it turns out that I was very much right. When I was first recruiting guests for the show earlier this year, not only did the initial tweet get like 34,000 views or something crazy like that, I was overwhelmed with the amount of just thoughtful responses that I got from fellow fans that have just been equally inspired by this incredible franchise. One such creator is the very talented YouTuber, Cloudie McDoom, who I am ecstatic to announce will be the special guest for this episode. But before we get into all of that, every single episode, I'm going to be doing a Final Fantasy news roundup where we just take a quick 5 minutes to cover just pretty much anything that you might have missed in the world of Final Fantasy. That way, if you've had a crazy week or whatever the case may be, you get a little bit of snippet into what Square Enix has been up to lately with the series. And of course, I will be sprinkling it with all of the good late night talk show style humor that we've come to know and love. So without further ado, let's get right into the news. Alrighty, the biggest item in the Final Fantasy sphere right now is, of course, the recent release of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, the long-awaited sequel to the original remake that came out 4 years ago based on the 1997 classic, finally arrived on shelves and consoles everywhere last Thursday, and the reviews have made it abundantly clear this game is truly something special, scoring a whopping 94 on the average score on Metacritic based on 63 unique critical reviews. We're still waiting for Square Enix to release official sales numbers, though the physical copies sold in Japan do seem to be lagging behind what we saw with Remake and Final Fantasy XVI. But that's only physical. We haven't found out anything about digital or the way that the game is doing internationally. So we won't be able to get a full picture of who's been playing quite yet, maybe next episode. But there can be no denying that those who are clearly love the game. And this is your friendly reminder to come up for air, order a pizza, drink plenty of water as you continue your adventures in Rebirth. But listen, here on the Final Fantasy Show, we want to make sure that we address the real issues. And we have a real issue on our hands, Kupo. I mean, come on, Square. Teeth on a Moogle? Fans have recently taken to Twitter to protest these fluffy white terrors that jump scare you in every region of Rebirth's open world, and I'm not gonna lie, I can certainly see their point. Every toothy, shiny point. But hey, Square Enix wants to make sure we know that they will not stand for this slander. And okay, yeah, this guy does look pretty cute, but all I'm saying is that it's pretty convenient that they don't show his teeth. Moving on to non-Rebirth related news, Creative Business Unit 3, the development team behind Final Fantasy XIV and XVI, recently announced that they will be at PAX East in just a few short weeks. 14's director, Naoki Yoshida, affectionately known by fans as Yoshi P, must have convinced 16's producer, Naoki Yoshida, to team up for the event. As they look forward to a summer release for their upcoming expansion, Dawn Trail, the team plans to build excitement among fans with a special on-site battle challenge, photo ops with the devs, and potentially even Yoshi P himself, as well as prizes and giveaways you can only obtain at the event. And I can tell you, I have done one of these events before, and they're always a good time. So if you do attend PAX East, be sure to check it out. Both games will also be running their own panels, though we don't currently know what news we'll be receiving from the 14 panel. However, folks at home will not want to miss 16's panel, which will be live streamed to the official PAX Twitch page, as the developers have already confirmed we will be receiving information regarding the upcoming DLC, as well as a potential release date, since so far as we know, it'll just be sometime this spring. My current prediction is April, as that's when they will be running the already announced in-game collab with Final Fantasy XIV, where you'll be able to earn your very own Torgal mount and minion, among other prizes. While we don't know the DLC's theme, the development team has dropped some pretty heavy-handed hints as to what we might encounter, naming the content The Rising Tide, and asking the community what secrets will surface from the depths at PAX East. It's not easy being green, but it just got a little easier with our last announcement. After a successful open beta last month, Xbox players everywhere will be welcomed in with open arms to the Final Fantasy XIV community on March 21st as the newest wave of Sprouts. For those of you that are unfamiliar with the MMO, Sprouts are what the community affectionately calls new players. For those of you that already play the game, Sprouts are those players openly staring at you in Limsa, wondering how you got that shiny gear, and wondering how many more Realm Reborn fetch quests they're going to have to do in order to get it. If you plan to start the game this month in the upcoming launch, may I be the first to say, welcome to Eorzea, and don't forget to grab the starter edition of the game for basically free through the Game Pass Ultimate membership from March 21st through April 19th. Okay, and that's it for the news. I am so happy to introduce our special guest for today's interview. We have a very, very special interview lined up for you guys. Run the clip. Today's guest is a multi-talented actor, director, cosplayer, musician, and all-around hilarious creator that has been making content for 6 years. His favorite entry is Final Fantasy IX and has recently fallen down the 14 rabbit hole. Please help me in welcoming Cloudie McDoom. Hi, Cloudie. Welcome to my show. It's so good to have you here. I really appreciate you hopping on. I'm really excited to get this show off the ground. This should be the inaugural episode. It's been really, really great, the response that we've gotten on this. And I just want to know from you, Cloudie, what made you start making game parodies in the first place? Like, what brought you to this kind of content?
So I will say that starting at a young age, I had a proclivity for like imitating video game characters. So I'll be walking around the house, doing the same walks as like Diddy Kong or Link, you know, his little funny swim, his run, all this stuff. I just naturally would do it. Don't know why. I just did it. So fast forward to adulthood, many years later, it just felt natural to say, you know what? I remember these things from my youth. Let me just make a parody of them because it's fun, it's silly, and that's kind of what put me into it. I didn't pop off with it until I did like the Kingdom Hearts Sora, you know, slashing and jumping and stuff, which would eventually lead to the Final Fantasy content that you see here today. So there you go. So
Oh,
I'm chilling.
You just always loved games, like since you were a kid, basically. That's amazing. Like, do you have like a game from your childhood that just like means everything to you?
Wow. You know, I'm gonna go off the beaten path a little bit. Instead of going to the, you know, the go-tos like Mario, Zelda, Final Fantasy, I'm gonna say a game called Mystical Ninja starring Goemon or Goemon, however you want to say it. On Nintendo 64. That was one of those games that's lived rent-free in my head and heart for years.
That's
It's such
amazing.
so anyone out there who knows what I'm talking about, you're probably fangirling or fanboying right now because it's that good.
They're the real G's. Yeah.
It's that good.
That's awesome. I think games are so special. I think they shape our childhood in a lot of ways. I know for me as a creator, games have definitely guided my path. It's affected my career. It's why I'm here now. But okay, thinking about it in the context of this show, what makes specifically Final Fantasy special compared to any other franchises?
Let me start on a lighter note before it goes dark. Uh, on a lighter note, I was at my cousin's house for a family event in the summertime. I was in like the 6th grade. You know, this was like early 2000s. Yeah, I'm old. So I was at his house, and he was like playing some games, and I picked up the case. I'm like, FF7, Final Fantasy 7. What is this? And he's like, oh, it's just some game. It's kind of weird. I don't like it. I remember verbatim. He's like, I don't really care for it. I'm like, oh, I've heard of this game. I've seen it in magazines. Let me try it, cousin. So I put the disc in and I start playing FF7. I'm like, it's kind of cool. Like this is, I don't know. It's just something about this turn-based RPG. Like I love this, right? So then he gets into it after watching me play. So fast forward, fast forward, fast forward. What really got me to fall in love with Final Fantasy on a personal note is I was on a field trip. I'll never forget this in like seventh grade, but we were on a field trip to a cornfield because Alabama. And I remember these eighth graders, they were really cruel to me, right? Like I was trying to find my way through the corn maze and I couldn't keep up with anybody. I'm like panicking because I was a little guy, at that age. And they're like, oh my God, get away from us, get away from us. And they're like leaving me behind, ditch me, whatever, whatever. So anyway, um, I get on the bus to go home back to the school, and those same eighth graders, I'm trying to sit in the back where they are. Like, oh my God, get away from us. You're girls, blah, 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 all this stuff, right? So I get home from school that day and I put in FF7. I think I was on disc 2, Cosmo Canyon. And I'm playing, I'm playing. And I remember having this thought like, I feel connected to these characters. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, as lonely as I feel in the real world as a kid being dejected by eighth graders, uh, playing this with these party members I feel something in me, right? And I remember I stopped, I put the controller down, I start crying like really hard. I mean, I'm a kid, so it's excusable. I
Yeah.
started crying really, really hard. And I think it was just that overwhelming sense of like, I'm hurting because of what they did to me at school today, but like I still feel comforted in what I'm doing in this game right now. As lame as that sounds, as like whatever, but that's my personal connection.
Yeah.
Final
Oh
Fantasy.
gosh,
You know?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
absolutely. I mean, if you just think about, to me, Final Fantasy is the characters and just the way that they truly showcase humanity, like
yeah,
for what it is. It's just that like raw viewpoint, like into your soul almost.
mm,
Like you just really get to see so many aspects of mankind, like both the
yeah,
good and the bad, and seeing that back like reflected to you. That's what I've always loved, is just the cathartic feeling that you get like out of
yeah.
that experience. And
Exactly.
you're totally right. It definitely just makes you feel so much less alone. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know that was
Yeah,
a
I
very
love
like
that.
I tried to speed that anecdote up as much as I could, but yeah, that was
Yeah.
like my potential villain arc, but it actually became a hero arc. So there you go.
Thanks, Final Fantasy.
Yeah, yeah.
Very nice. Okay, so thinking back about your content, okay, I have to say you produce an impressive amount of videos. To me,
Appreciate it.
I mean, I've been doing content creation for several years now. I know how hard it is to stay consistent and
Yeah.
get content out. Like, how do you find your drive to just continually produce content? Because you have so much on TikTok, YouTube, all of these different platforms, Facebook.
Yeah. Um, I'll be honest with you. It actually goes hand in hand with the fandom, the community that supports what you're doing. And for example, my community, shout out to the Squall, Squall So We Fall, Big Squall Energy. They know what I'm talking about. Like when you start making content, so it's weird for me specifically. You start making the content for yourself, of course, because that should be how it is at the beginning and end of it all. But you start making the content. It's like, I think this is funny. It made me laugh. I'll put it out into the world. And then some of your stuff starts to go viral or it gets around quite a bit. And then suddenly you start to get this like creators high from so many people like in your DMs or commenting, like, oh man, this is so funny. Like you start resonating with mankind. So it goes beyond just trying to be viral for the sake of the flex. It becomes like, wait, it's viral because all these people, we feel the same way, like we're connecting. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
that energy, it fuels me specifically. When I'm making this content, I want to do as much as I can to get it out there. I talk on my hands a lot, by the way. So if I keep like hitting the camera, just duck, just but
I'll
um
dodge.
yeah, yeah, just dodge it. But like they're a good example. Right now I'm working on something called Final Fantasy Boss Battle, which was a spoof I did years ago during the pandemic, I think. And everyone loved it so much because they remember what that felt like. So that's what's driven me to like go above and beyond. And everyone's appreciated. That's like my highest to this day, but like my highest Final Fantasy view content is the boss battle stuff. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's the drive. It's the what drives me is my fan base and community.
Yeah. Great video. I watched that for
Oh,
sure.
thank you. Yeah, the
Yeah.
algorithm.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah.
No, it's wonderful. I think that's great. I think it ties so wonderfully into what you said about Final Fantasy. It's that
Yeah.
human connection, right? That's
Right.
at the end of the day what it comes down to. I love that so much. That's really beautiful.
Thank you.
Um,
Yeah,
this one's for people watching at home that might aspire to be a Cloudie McDoom one day, as it
yeah.
were. Have you noticed that certain types of content perform better on certain platforms? How has that ended up being for you?
Yeah, that happens frequently actually. So with me, I post the same thing on each platform. One, because I'm OCD, and two, just because I like to study how it does. Because I have a different audience on like TikTok versus Facebook versus Instagram versus YouTube versus Twitter Undead. So like I try to see what hits on each one, but at the same time, that's actually smart. I'll give myself a pat on the back because God forbid any of the platforms just tank one day, right? My content will still exist on one of the others out there. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's almost like a fail safe for me. But as far as noticing what does the best, definitely whenever I do Sora from Kingdom Hearts, I've done this series that started in the pandemic. I've coined this format where he runs up, it does a bunch of quick shots of whoever he's gonna fight, and they always destroy him. They just decimate Sora. Even to the point now where they knock his cosplay wig off, which was an accident, but somehow it's become canon. Because I laughed really hard. It was a blooper. Like I was jumping around in front of my green screen, and the wig just flew off, and I cried laughing. So I was like, I'm gonna keep this in just because. Sure enough, now everyone expects that. Like
Yeah.
anytime Sora's fighting someone in those skits I do, his wig has to go flying. Otherwise, it's not a complete situation. But yeah, Kingdom Hearts performs the highest, and then second place would definitely be like the Final Fantasy, the aforementioned boss battle, things like that. Sephiroth, Sephiroth, those skits do pretty well within reason. So yeah, Kingdom Hearts,
Freudian
Final
slip on
Fantasy.
that last part. Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
so
Okay.
yeah,
So, yeah, it's definitely very smart to always reuse your content, right? And repurpose
yeah,
it and explore and test things out. And you're totally right. As a creator, you have to diversify your income in any way that you
yeah,
can, because you never know what policy people are going to throw at you next.
yeah. And that's another thing too. Just to footnote that, reposting your old videos, there's nothing wrong with that because you got to remember we're consuming a lot of content every single day. Like if you get on your phone now and just scroll, it's just like we're absorbing so much like sponges. So to see the same thing cross your feed, say like once every 2 or 3 months, it's not gonna phase you. You'll be like, oh yeah, I remember this. This was funny. I'm gonna react to it again. Now, if
Right.
you did it every single day, I mean, sure, people are gonna be like, wait a minute, this is like like you wouldn't want to go that far, but
All right.
because ironically enough, and this is just advice for anyone out there who's creating content too. I've posted things that didn't hit well the first time I posted it, right? But then 3 months later, I reposted it, and then that blew up. So it's a weird. The algorithm is a very
Yeah.
fickle being. So there you
And
go.
when you do something specific like Final Fantasy, for example, when you hit those releases on other hype times, like a
Yeah,
launch date, for example, a rebirth hype, different things like that, like
yeah,
there's definitely a lot of things that can affect that outside of just how good the content is, which obviously good content comes first, but there are other factors involved.
yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, that's really great advice. I love that. Um, What kind of challenges have you had to face as a public facing creator? We've talked a little bit about the benefits and the DMs of support and
yeah.
different things like that. What kind of challenges have you had to go through?
Um, yeah, that's a pretty easy one. So this isn't this first one isn't really a challenge. It's just a minor inconvenience, but it doesn't phase me one way or the other. Me being a black creator, I don't know if you could tell, I'm a black guy. Uh, like when I post skits, or in my cosplay and stuff, you'll always get a couple of comments in between all the love and admiration that's like, wait, Cloud is black? I didn't know Cloud was black, or black people can't, like, you'll get those mixture of comments, right?
Right.
And it almost like you're on this high of like everyone appreciating the hard work you've done. And then those comments will kind of, for a split second, they'll like bring you back down to like, oh wait, this is how a good fraction of people see me. You know what I mean? Not that I'm ashamed of being black. It's not like that. I mean that they don't see past that. They just they won't accept that it's a guy who's just doing what he loves doing and trying to enjoy the fandom with everyone else out there. They're just like, oh, he's black. I should point
Putting
that
you in a
out.
box.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's weird. The other struggle that can be troublesome. One thing I tell people is that jealousy and envy, they're very very powerful emotions, right? So there can be people from your life in the past that you don't really talk to that much anymore. You don't really interact or whatever. If you yourself hit a place of like, and I never call myself famous because like I feel weird. I feel weird saying that about myself. I'm cognizant to the fact that I have a platform and a few people know who I am. You know what I mean? I'm very cognizant of that reality.
Yeah.
But when some of my stuff goes like somewhat viral, for example, uh, people from my past, like, they'll come out the woodwork and try to like slander me or turn people against me, right? Never
Yeah.
saying a word to me, like never talking to me. They'll just like be like, "Oh, well, this one time, he said this thing to me that I didn't like, so we should cancel him for it." And it's like, you could have just talked to me, but it's only when they see my stuff like blowing up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's almost like clockwork. It's like, oh wait, he's got like 3, 4,000 shares on this post. I should start some trouble. And that's kind of annoying because then people stop viewing you as a human creator, and now you're more like this thing they have to take down a peg. You're like this entity,
Yeah.
like almost like, to be as cheesy and cringe as possible. It's like I'm this raid boss or something that they feel like, oh, we gotta bring him down. We gotta
Yeah.
we gotta drop this boss, and it's just weird energy. It's very strange. So.
Absolutely. I think people on the internet, like I feel like they feel safety in numbers, like as if, like the bigger something is performing, like, well, okay, this person no longer is a real person. There's no way they're ever going to read my comments.
Yeah.
Like there's all of these other things that like go through their heads, and it's just not true. Like I can't speak for every creator, but I know for my case, and it sounds like for you too, we read stuff. We do. We read the comments. We exist
Yeah.
as people. We are people walking down the street. I'm sure mega celebrities feel this same
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, there's something in that psyche that just kind of immediately just like turns off that part of your brain. Yeah.
But it
Yeah.
is what it is. Like, I can definitely say, just to make it a happy ending, I get way more love. The ratio of love to haters is so astronomical, that I don't even pay attention again
Yeah.
to said haters. So it is what it is.
Yeah. So we just talked about the kinds of challenges that you can face as a creator, but let's think about for a second, in a happy mystical world, that you could make any kind of content you wanted without having to worry about views, without having to worry about platforms, without worrying about impressions. What kind of content would you make? I'm kind of curious about this one because I watched through a lot of your content getting ready for this
Yeah.
interview,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
happen to be a very talented singer. So I'm wondering
Oh
if you
wow.
would ever want to do more with music, or, but I won't put words in your mouth. What kind of content would you want to do?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. Yeah, I do enjoy singing as a hobby. Uh, so it's weird. Like, there's this. I'm gonna go back to the pandemic again because again, everything spawned from there. As terrible of a time as it was. Um, I did a series called Space Tales of Blast Junior, right? And it's such a isolated little series. You have to like dig on my channel to find it, but that's one of those series that me, my girlfriend Panadonia, she's obsessed with because it's such a silly concept. Like, if you watch it, you feel like you're watching an Adult Swim series from like 2005 or six, right? Um, that's a series that I would love to do. Not worrying about views and stuff, because that one, it doesn't hit my algorithm because again, it's not Final Fantasy. It's not really related to the other stuff I do. But it has a special place in my heart because of how ridiculous it is. Uh, that one would be probably my number one. But like you said too, I will let you put these words in my mouth. Doing more music would be nice. Because again, it's a glorified hobby. It's not like I consider myself like a legit like singer, but like it's something I enjoy making, and I kind of want to add more of that to my content platforms. You know what I mean? Because I actually did a music video. It's a Final Fantasy one called "Gonna Buster You," right? And it's like a whole remix of this old like '90s R&B rap song, but like that's done really well, you know. And what surprises me is because it's a song. It's not like it's a skit. Technically, it's just a song. It's just me singing about stuff. But that one's hit close to like 70,000 something views on YouTube, you know, and that's impressive for me for a music video. So that does let me know I should do more songs. So yeah, you're right. You got
That's because he's a singer, even if he says he's a
it.
casual one. No, you're very talented. That song is very good. There's
Appreciate it.
several little things that you add into your content. I saw your Panic at the Disco TikTok. You can't hide from me.
Yeah, you're right. You got it.
Very talented
Yeah.
singer.
No, thank you, thank you. I
Siryn
can't blush.
votes you do more music content. Just saying.
Okay, well, Siryn, I aim to please, so I got you, Siryn. I got you.
Thank you. Please look forward to
That,
it.
definitely.
Okay. All right. So I have asked Cloudie if he had anything that he would want to present to you, the viewer, on this little interview. And out of all of the plethora of content that he could have picked from, he chose something from his new show called The Squall House. He
All
has
right.
some new accounts for it that we'll plug at the end. This show is fantastic, by the way. It's
Thank you.
basically a machinima for Final Fantasy 14. Very well edited, lots of really creative characters, all sorts of little miniature skits within the Final Fantasy 14 universe. And it's a very, very fun project. So,
Thank you.
all that being said, I will roll the clip.
I guess they were right. Bring on the next main scenario quest.
All right. So that was Cloudie, his character of the same name in the game, appreciating the absolutely riveting, intriguing, enormous plot of Final Fantasy 14. So I would love it if you could just tell me a little bit more about this project. And when did you start playing 14? When did you start wanting to make content for it? Tell me all about it.
Okay, cool. Now I can gush. So I started FF14 in the summer of 2022. And that was just on a whim. I was like, you know what? Everyone keeps asking me to do it during my streams. So I'm like, fine, I'll download it, got into it. And one of the coolest things about that was when I came in, and I guess it's different for content creators, right? Or streamers, what have you. So many people pulled up to welcome me into Eorzea. It was such a heartwarming experience. Um, that really like that solidified my love for the game. Even beyond that, um, it was just this like I didn't know what to expect going into a Final Fantasy MMORPG. You know what I mean? I think for me, I wasn't thinking of the social aspect of the game. I was thinking strictly, okay, you'll get in, you'll go kill some stuff, get some armor, and then you're done. No, this is a whole world. Like this is what I didn't understand. There's like venues, there's like RP party, like all this stuff that blew my mind when I was streaming the game, playing it with my community. So that was what got me into it. The addiction began there. The machinima that came, I'd say about maybe a year into the game. I was kind of just goofing around, playing with G pose, right? And I was like, this is kind of cool. Like this is neat. Like it makes me think of old shows like uh the Renegade Angel from Adult Swim, some Xavier, Renegade Angel, like stuff like that. So I was like, this is kind of funny, like just the way it looks. So I started tinkering, you know, doing my thing, blah blah blah. And I'm like, what if I made a series of this? I have an FC. We goof around in Discord all the time. Like, what if I just made a series based off of this, right? And that's when I just started tinkering. I would hit up my FC like, hey, come to the front yard of the house. Let's do some stuff, or let's go over here and do a thing. And it just kind of steadily evolved, to the point where I start writing an actual storyline for the season we're working on. And shout out to my boy Hako Flair, well Kaizen, but his character's Hako Flair, GJ aka Poseidon, my boy Bentley. They've been kind of helping me write it as well because they know all about FF14. Like they know lore stuff that I'm not privy to because I'm still a new player. But we have a private chat in Discord, and I'll say, hey guys, let me present you with this idea. Does this make sense within the context of FF14? And they're like, oh, well, yeah, that works, but this doesn't because that character is this and this and all this stuff. So they helped me kind of like fine tune it. So shout out to them. But yeah, man, like I just want to make a series that just something silly but has heart. I
Yeah.
will say this: the more you watch the Squall House in its entirety, beyond the clips of me just being down horrendous, like when you watch the series in its entirety, you're gonna start to pick up on a lot of like, oh wait a minute, this is heartfelt, like this is deep, like this is real life struggles people go through put into a game. And I'm thankful I've had that ability to tell stories and create content that can do that. Like even in live action, live action arena. So yeah, that's something you should definitely watch. The Squall House. As you already told everyone, you plugged it, so I'm plugging it again. The Squall House. Check it out.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, it's clearly something very special. What I love the most about what you're talking about, oh my gosh, it comes back again to human connection, right?
Yes.
Like that seems to be like the whole theme of this interview, which I totally relate with. I run a free company in Final Fantasy 14 myself. Shout out to Thieves of Dawn. We
Hey.
absolutely do the same kinds of things. And I think you've been able to capture that essence in this series because it's going over, various, it'll bring up plot stuff like, every once in a while it'll bring up 14 stuff and
Yeah.
incorporate it into the series, but it really showcases that slice of life of how
Yeah.
it really is to play the game and how you interact with your free company and how you just kind of hang out and have a good time and you have that community. So yeah, it's clearly something very special. And so I'm just going to end on one more question and then we'll
Yeah.
head into our mini game that I
All
have
right.
prepared for you.
Bet.
How has the community that you've created both through 14, the Squall House, all of your community, how has it affected your life and how has it affected your content?
Honestly, it's almost like, so I'll say this from a creator standpoint, and this is just a human standpoint, actually. You have ups and downs. So I'll translate that into the lens of a creator. You have moments where, like I said earlier, everyone's love and admiration of what you're doing, it drives you to connect. When you make something, make people laugh, make them cry, make them slap somebody, all this stuff. And then you'll have those moments where you're just not like feeling it. You're like, I don't have that energy I had. I don't have, maybe something in life happened, maybe whatever. But I will give credit to specifically my FF14 community for coming to me in a time of my life where, like, I don't know, like it's I was in one of those ruts, a creative rut. Like I was still making stuff, but I had gone through some things where I had gotten screwed over, and I won't use any names. Like I'm a gentleman, but like I gotten screwed over by another creator who convinced me to quit my day job under the promises that they were gonna, let me edit and do stuff for them, being their skits. And once I quit my job, they went back with their word, and then I was just like out on a limb by myself. That was a really stressful time, because I already had slight trust issues with people who've already done me dirty. But this was one of those things that just really pushed me off the edge, right? So when I got into FF14 and just having that like in-game love and like community, everyone willing to help me do this stuff, get these dreams and ideas out, like that restored my faith in not only humanity, but just like it re-sparked that creative drive. So I think that's one of the things that gets infused into the Squall House too, is me remembering these are the people who came at a dark time in my life. And not to mention, not to overshadow this, but like my sister had actually passed away the year before in the exact same time, like in May of 2021. So that was one of those things that I was still like trying to like work my way through. on a daily basis. You know what I mean? Because it
Yeah.
was so abrupt. You know, it's like we're talking now, and then like say 2 hours from now, I find out something happened. You know, it was like one of those kind of situations.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So like I had been going through a lot of just depression, but still having to maintain it as a creator, still having to like, you know, it was a lot going on. So
Yeah.
I feel like 14 was that like that safety, that lifeline, I guess. You know, as cheesy as it sounds to put all that on an MMO, like I needed that, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think it's done that for so many people. I think that's without spoiling anything about Endwalker. I think that's one of the beautiful things about the whole story.
Yeah.
And just how it really does send that message of hope and persisting through hard
Yeah.
times. And I've definitely had very similar experiences myself of just going through hard times. And the game really just kind of the Elden Ring effect too, where you're conquering like raiding and different things like that, and you're overcoming a hard challenge, and that
Yeah.
helps your mental health so much because you're like, oh man.
I beat
I
Elden
heard you
Ring, by
beat
the way.
Elden Ring, by the way.
Yeah,
Mm.
I wanted to make sure that was understood. I beat Elden Ring. Anyone out
Okay,
there who likes to hate on me, they'll be like, "Oh, did you beat Millennia?" Shut up. I
you
beat
did.
base
So
Elden Ring, so I
professional
can die
gamer
with that.
here on the interview. So just in case anybody was not clear, if you're watching at home, he did beat Elden Ring. So he's
Just so you
he's he's
know,
the real deal.
just saying.
So, speaking of the plot of Final Fantasy 14, our
Right.
mini game for today, I'm very excited,
Here we go.
is going to be a challenge where you have 15 seconds per expansion to
Okay.
summarize the entire plot of said expansion without using any character or location names. So, we're going to go through these one by one. So, I'll give you a little bit of a breather between each one.
Okay.
Obviously, we'll start with Realm Reborn and then we'll just go all the way through. So no character names, no location names, and you only have 15 seconds. Are you up for the challenge?
I am. I will say it's been a while since I've done them all, so I'll do my best.
That's okay. That just makes it funnier. It's no
All right,
problem.
bet.
Okay. So first off, we're gonna do a Realm Reborn. 3, 2, 1.
Okay. So you're the Warrior of Light, Big Mama Crystal. You do Uber Eats missions for people. There's a dinner party. Someone gets their arm cut off. Someone scallops a potato. You're on the run, and you end up in the snow. And then you got the next expansion.
Done. That's great. Freaking scallops a potato. Oh my god.
I
Okay. Yes, there was a lot of cooking in that game.
right,
Yes, you're
right,
right.
right,
You're
right.
talking about gathering things for the feast, right? That's what you
Exactly,
meant. Yeah,
exactly.
we're scalping lots of potatoes. Um, okay. Heavensward. 3, 2, 1.
There was a bestiality dragons. The lady. There was ice. Oh man, I got another dinner party. I think the guy had a crush on me. It was beautiful. We did a lot of eyeballs, dragon eyeballs, and
That's
dragons, just
it. You're
all
out of
dragons.
time.
Ah,
Dragon eyeballs are written on that. All
oh,
right. Good, good. Dinner party with sexy man. Yep. I remember that. Okay. Stormblood. 3, 2, 1.
oh wow. Okay. Fighting, punching, kicking, dancing. We were out in the sand. The place. I can't say the name. Um, uh, the giant, big booty menace with the long hair. He was everywhere. He was a menace. I hate
That's
him.
it. You're done.
Oh man, I'm trying.
That's all you need to know about Stormblood, anyways.
Oh man.
Okay. Let's see how Shadowbringers goes. Shadowbringers. 3, 2, 1.
Time to bring the shadows. There was light everywhere, oversaturated purple trees, sexy stone women's, big baby man with like a weird neck. I am the darkness. I'm Batman. I'm Batman.
There you go. Okay. All right, one more. This
Okay.
one's for all the marbles. And if you didn't know, you're getting points for this, where
Oh
all the
wow.
points matter. And Oh, they're made up and don't matter. I don't remember the rules.
No.
We're at 7.4
Okay.
points now.
Okay.
All right,
Okay.
Endwalker. 3, 2, 1.
Endwalker, walking the moon, outer space, time travel, beautiful Garden of Eden places. I got beat up by my mom. My mom beat my ass. It was sad, but it was beautiful. Dark places, edge of the universe, birds, Twitter reborn.
All right, you're done. I gave you a little extra time on that one.
Okay. That's fair.
Beautiful. Yeah.
I tried. I told you.
All right. Beautiful. Okay, so that was very well done. I do have a little special bonus round. You're only at 8.67 points now. And
Okay.
so in order to earn 100 more points, here is your bonus round challenge.
Oh wow. Okay.
I would like you, as succinctly as you can, but there's no time limit this time,
Okay.
please explain the entire plot of Final Fantasy XIV as if you're talking to a girl at a bar and she will only leave with you if you convince her to play the game.
Listen, girl. I've been all over Eorzea. You need to know this right off the bat. I am the warrior of light. And what that means is I'm better than everyone. Let's get that out of the way. My mother, she's a giant crystal. But also, I want you to know that I'm always willing to lend a helping hand. For example, I ended the Dragon Song War, right? I what else can I tell you, girl? I brought the storms of blood, it was bloody storms. I brought those. I beat up an 8-foot giant with a fat ass. Let's see, what else did I do, man? I went to another world. You're gonna love this. I went to another world, talked to my man made of crystal. He has crystallitis. His skin is like blue crystal. It's crazy looking, but he's awesome. I saved the world that way. I brought back the nighttime. Yeah, it's crazy. Too much UV radiation turned the trees purple. And then, last but not least, check this out, girl. I'm gonna sell you on this. I went on the moon. I walked the moon, hung out with giant 8-9 foot tall alien ghosts with weird voices. I went back in time, ran around a garden with random animals and creatures. Again, the same mom that was a crystal, she beat me, but it's all good. And then at the very end of it, this is what's gonna get you to go home with me. I fixed everything and I walked the end. So when we go walk to my car. That's Final Fantasy 14.
Oh my God, that was so good. All right, I'm thinking from a girl perspective, I'm just thinking like, man, this guy has mommy issues. What's going on?
Oh man. Well, yeah, that's true. I might have lost with that one. Wah, wah, wah.
Oh my God. Okay, good. That was beautiful. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for humoring me on that one. That was amazing.
No problem.
This was so much fun. I really enjoyed this interview. I hope you had a good time as well.
Definitely. You did great.
Good. I would love to shout you out to your socials, all of that good stuff. If you want to plug yourself, say a little bit about where people can find you, what's the good place to hook in with you?
Okay. Well, I'm literally everywhere. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter Undead, TikTok, Instagram, all of them at Cloudie McDoom or some variation of. If you want to follow me on my FF14 content, that's Cloudie14XIV on YouTube and TikTok. Oh, and Twitter Undead too is there as well. Yeah. So those are all my socials. If you want to keep up with your boy.
Your boy. All right.
Your
So we
boy.
got Cloudie McDoom and Cloudie XIV. Great. Okay, cool. Thank you so much again for that wonderful interview. Thank you guys for watching. I'll probably have an outro as well, so I probably don't need to do all that. Yeah, okay, you're awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, I'm gonna end now, and that's
Take it
how
easy.
we're gonna do it. Great.
That's good stuff.
Thank you. I'd like to end every show with a poll. This week's question is a simple one, but perhaps one of the most controversial ones that I'll probably ever ask. What is your favorite Final Fantasy game? Leave your answer in the comments below, and I'll cover the results in our next episode. I am so excited to announce that next episode's guest will be none other than Paolo Andrea di Pietro, an incredibly talented singer whose voice appears in some, tiny indie game franchises that you may have heard of, such as featuring in the official Genshin Impact concert series, lending his voice to the Dragon Quest The Adventure of Dai anime, providing the voice of Draco in the Final Fantasy VI Pixel Remaster, and lending his talents as a featured vocalist in both Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, as well as his most recent venture, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. A very special shout out to two of my Rogue of Light TV community members. The music you heard in today's intro was created by hand by the very talented Turn the AC On. Thank you so much for your contribution. We have hopes to upscale this music with live recorded sessions of each instrument to make the show feel even more like a late night studio. I would love to incorporate live music in some way in the show as kind of a stretch goal in the future. And another big shout out to community member Waffles and Jims for the video footage you saw captured in the opening segment. Both of these would have been totally out of scope for me and out of budget for a tiny show like this just starting out, but they came through and I will forever appreciate them for it. I hope you enjoyed the intro. And that's a wrap. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching the inaugural episode of the Final Fantasy show. I hope you enjoyed it just as much as I enjoyed making it. I plan to release a new episode every other Friday, and I already have a fantastic set of guests lined up for the coming months. If you liked the show and would like to help get it off the ground, sharing this episode with your Final Fantasy friends and communities would be a huge help. Like the video below to let YouTube know that you liked the content, and make sure to subscribe right here at Rogue of Light TV to let you know when the next episode will be premiering. Thank you so much. You've been an amazing audience, and if you're watching this live, thank you and good night.